rest of the app. This used to be spatial audio, so you could walk away and get quiet. But
Okay.
now we put the bubble over it just because it's easier to record the audio.
Right.
But someone would walk away and we kind of start yelling at them like, "Hey!"
Or go, like sometimes they have assets like a 3D model out and about, and they would just like walk around and start talking about that one, and you have to go to your PC and move our little camera closer. So
What is your actual setup? So you guys are in Quests right now, and then those extra cameras. How are you doing them?
Those are PC versions.
Okay. Is there a PC version of the Spatial App, or is it like you have?
Not for use yet.
Yeah.
They were thinking about it. They're mainly focusing on getting this app into the app lab and then going from there. So
I guess they just made one. Usually these PC ones have like a giant like movie, camera on the shoulder, so it doesn't look like a French little DJ looks like Uncle Fester from the back. Like he doesn't have a neck. My guy just. Yeah. Usually it's a little more less unsettling because there's like a look that you could tell their purpose just by looking at them.
Yeah.
Now they look like Rick and Morty. I'm a cyborg recording. Look into my eyes. Don't be alarmed.
Don't be alarmed. Yeah. Yeah, cool. I like your setup. Like the little smoke particle effects. Add some ambiance. Thanks for putting up our assets. That's really cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone watching, listening. This is VR Verdict Podcast, episode 97. I'm PJ.
Wookie.
We're here talking to Yacine. Sorry. From Sweet Surrender Games.
It's nice to meet you guys.
Going through. Yeah. We're here talking about many other things, but the focus will be at some point Sweet Surrender, your new game that came out in September.
That's right.
I feel like we broke the conversation here.
I interrupted you several times in your intro.
No. It's just we've been chatting for like 20 minutes and anyway. So yeah. So Salmi Games has been doing games since 2016, right?
Yeah, actually, 2016.
Gorilla and Late for Work, which, by the way, are awesome titles. And the bundle's on sale on Steam right now if you're watching this, so go grab it. They're fun.
Yeah. Definitely go grab it.
I saw Sweet Surrender. I think it was the Steam Festival earlier this year. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. In the April, May, June Steam Festival, yeah.
I played you had a nice little demo, and I played it, and I was like, this is awesome. The art style is great. The game runs smooth. Like, it's just fun. It's like a roguelite, first-person shooter. I'll let you explain it. You'll probably do a better job than me. But
yeah, it's, thank you. Yeah, Sweet Surrender is a roguelike shooter in VR, where you're basically a rebel in a sort of sci-fi dystopian mega tower, and you're trying to fight your way up through the enemy robots that you face and see what's up there. You've got no future left, and you're just trying to find a way out, basically. And yeah, like you said, we made a demo in Steam Next Fest, and we launched a full game at the end of September on Quest and PC. And since then, we've been updating the game regularly, and we're going to keep building on that for many months to come.
Love to hear that.
Yeah.
I love the system where you have to mix things up, and keep it like a roguelite. You get the little add-ons for your arms that change attributes and gun ammo clips and all that fun stuff. It's a really neat system. And I like just slapping them in your wrist and, going off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. We spent quite a bit of time trying to come up with that, like trying to find the right system to do that. But yeah, a lot of the game is based on the different types of guns you're going to get and the different types of upgrades so that you can build out like a loadout that fits your playstyle. So you can get extra health or more armor or more ammo or explosive bullets or ricochet bullets, and then a lot of the fun comes from like combining the different types of upgrades and weapons together and to create some funny situations. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a video playing over here, but like there are zip lines throughout, and it's
Yeah.
really fun to be on a zip line shooting people, like the video shows at one point. How many total weapons are in the game? Or,
I think we have right now we have about 15 weapons. I mean, in like 4 or 5 like classes of weapons. So we have a couple of variations on the shotguns and on the handguns and sniper and SMG and assault rifles and there's more coming. Yeah. And then yeah, you mentioned the zip lines. Like there's zip lines in the levels themselves that you can just grab onto, but you can also find the grapple hook gun has sometimes in some of your runs, and that allows you to like basically deploy zip line anywhere. Like,
the last time I played, I found that for the first time, and I was having quite a blast with it.
yeah.
Every run is it totally randomly generated, or how is that set up?
Yeah, so part of the roguelike aspect is each run is procedurally generated, and so like right now there's 12 levels across 4 different districts, and at each level we generate we generate the whole layout of the level, and then we build this layout from a lot of different room templates that we have, which are then themselves randomized further, and then we randomize like the enemy distribution, the upgrade distribution, the types of enemies you're going to encounter, and so on. So it's just a series of like small pieces being put together to build an entire level. Yeah. And
works really well. Like,
yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what's your team size? Because some of these assets, like the art style, is cool, and I love that the logo says for the listeners that aren't viewing, like it says "Sweet Surrender," and then like a crazy cool gradient from like a dark, blue to like pink, and that guy just looks awesome. I don't know if it's I don't want to sound silly, but he's got like a weird digital chef hat or something and glowing red eyes. Like that is just the coolest thing. How big's your team?
We're 6 people roughly. Like on the project, we've also worked with freelancers, and it's like our full team size is like 12 or 13. Like, but that includes like on the audio side, we had a great audio designer and then a great FX designer, and then they also worked like with a mixer to mix the audio tracks. So like I'm counting that guy too, But the core team is 7 people, and we have 2 artists, and our art director was also a freelancer. He designed all the art direction basically, and the logos and the assets and the color palettes and all that.
It sounds like you guys have like a good solid production pipeline to kind of get that going. Because a lot of the people we talk to are single devs, and they still do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Like if you have the budget to spend on something, it just shows like if you're art director, even if they're a freelancer, it's such a good idea to bring them in, because it's like a unified style. Like I feel like I'm looking at like maybe a lighter version, not as much clutter as like a Borderlands. But I just love looking at these hallways with like the orange and black in the outline. Like I think you could just, thank God it's randomized, but even if it wasn't, I could walk around in there all day, and just shoot stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Like, yeah, I mean, we've been working with this art director for several projects. So we first started working on together on Late for Work. So we have a long-term relationship, but this was the first project where we could really like invest time and effort on creating like a unique look that fits, like that has a consistent style like throughout the game, even with the different color palettes, as you pointed out. And so,
So important because I was talking to somebody on Twitter, another guy we talked to, and like, you can go high def all day, all you want, but it's only going to look good. It's kind of like the first of the newer Star Wars movies. It's only going to be fun in the theater. The second time you try to watch it, the further high res games get, like, the older they get, they're going to date themselves. But if you have a cool style, you can go back and play a cool stylized game like this. It doesn't, for ages, because you can still tell what it's looking like. I made a joke. I love the old, GoldenEye game on N64. I mean, we used to play that until I'd barf, and that's not even joking. But like, I can't play it. I have to play like the later Perfect Dark games, which are like the same thing because they look a little better. Because when I look at GoldenEye, they tried to go high res, but you can't. The only thing you can tell is like the texture faces. The rest of it, you go in like the caves level for multiplayer, and I can't. You're walking into a wall. I don't know what I'm. So,
and it's incredible. Sorry, go ahead.
I just had a good point to that. You can always look at Link to the Past, and that game is never not beautiful. And we're all kind of the same age, so we know what that means. But just to iterate your point there,
the styles, like, I will never, and for the audio viewers, if you check out the YouTube version of this, because like you just go look at it when you can. The bottom right picture on our little spread here, I will never not love that whole everything about that, because I love, my favorite color is a gradient from like pink to yellow, because it gets oranges in there, and that's almost that perfect gradient for me. And then it's got that dark blue, but the pose and the big honking handgun is like the coolest thing. I would buy T-shirts with that. And even if I didn't know what it was, I'd be like,
that's awesome.
So cool.
Yeah. I mean, that was our early logo, like the one we had on our pitch deck. And so it's really awesome to hear that, because like Marcel is the art director. Him and I spent a lot of time like going over, how we want to approach this. How can we stand out? How can we stand out in a way that is still affordable for us? Because like you can't compete on these high res things,
No.
And for us, it was super important that we could create a style that we could hit 72 frames per second on the Quest 1.
Right.
That was one of our driving factors from very early on in the project.
Yeah, and to keep toting the art style stuff, I get stuck on. I go down rabbit holes on this, but like the same photo over here. I don't know what's going on with these black lines. If it's like the internals of him, it almost looks like it's a few images overlaid.
Yeah.
But like, that's just, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, this guy inside, the one with the menacing eyes, like that's meant to be an overlord that hunts you, kind of like reminiscent of from War of the Worlds. Those, we don't have that in the game yet, but it's my dream to get like that you're walking around in one of the more open areas and suddenly you see this guy like chasing you down, and that
it looks like he's connected to the city or something like that, but it's superimposed on there, so I don't exactly know what I'm looking at, but I know that I want to keep looking at it. And AAA people, they don't always think like, what do I have available and what's interesting and stuff like that. Like, that's just a cool photo, and not every AAA publisher can do that. Stylized with inspiration and ideas. Like, it's just fucking sweet. You can go this. I keep picking on Star Citizen because it's never going to launch, but like, I have a ship in that game, and when I go to look at it, it's ugly as crap. Like, the ships look cool, but they throw like 8 million pipes and wires at stuff, hoping it's going to look real when they add enough clutter and then your PP tanks. And it's like, you don't need to do that if you have people that can think and have good ideas, and then you just do something simple and it looks great, and that's all you need to do. I love it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll shut up about it.
No, it's great to hear that. Like, Marcel's gonna love that as well. I'm gonna tell him on Monday.
You're hoping to have like the overlord guy come and hunt you, but that kind of happens like every so often. I'll let you explain it, but I didn't even know it was a thing, and all of a sudden it's like, you're being hunted. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So you do. We have the guy called an overlord, but this was like our original vision of it. We have basically like a massive drone slowly hunting you through the level, and it could just. So if you stay longer than, I don't know what it is now, 2.5 or 3 minutes in a level, then this thing gets spawned and it slowly moves towards you, but right through walls, and then can kill you with one shot. And the main idea with that thing is, because some of our players don't like it, the main idea is to you shouldn't have the time to explore the entire level. Like, we want the players to have to make choices, and like, there should be lots of goodies you can find if you search every nook and cranny, but you're taking a risk. That's what that guy represents.
That's kind of what I think Wookie and I are the same that way. That's our play style. Search every freaking corner. And then that thing kept popping up. I'm like, what? Do I just run? Do I fight it? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It gives you a sense of urgency, and that's, some games just don't have that. And that's kind of like, I like the risk aspect. Like, you might get spotted, but you might get cool loot. And then it does give you a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah.
It's like an experience more than just a follow a checkpoint shooter,
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, and whoops, I'm gone. Hold on. I'll press the joystick. So, like, that's our vision of the game. Like, that's how we want it to be played. But we're also listening to the feedback we get from the community. And in one of our upcoming updates, we're going to introduce like a casual mode, like a version where you can explore more. Because like, this is how I would like the people to play the game. But in the end, I don't care how people play the game. If they want to enjoy it one way or another, that's them. Like, for the leaderboards, we'll keep like the adventure mode the way it is, but we want to introduce different ways for people to experience the game, like, as they like. So that's one of the things we'll be introducing.
I think options are great because you might, some days switch it up and feel like playing differently. But I like the stuff where you could do that, but maybe just scale down the quality of the loot. Like, if you can search the whole level, then you're not gonna.
That's a good point. That's a good
I love
idea.
scalable stuff. Like, when I first played like Forza, and you're driving and you think you're a badass, and then you realize like there's all these assists on. Like, it brakes for you. I'm like, oh, that's why I can make that turn, because I'm just barreling into it and it's helping me slow down. You turn those off, you get more money rewards for the race. But it's skill based at that point. So you can go full on, casual mode, or you can go to the sim, and your, incentives are adjusted accordingly. You can do something easy like that. Just turn off the overseer, and you get lesser quality loot, or the whatever his name was.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea, because like, we want to make this skill based, but we want as many people who like to play these type of games to play our games. Like, there's other things that we're still want to improve, but we're trying to make sure like that it's accessible to a lot of players. So some feedback we've gotten is like, there's no progression, like there's no run to run progression. So some people fixate on the roguelite with a T thing, even though we labeled it roguelike, but we're not hardcore about this. Like, so we're working on adding some systems where you can get a bit of progression in the early game to make it more approachable for people who, people have vastly different skill levels. Like, we got a lot of people saying the game's too hard, and then we get one guy on Steam saying, "Oh, this game is way too freaking easy," and it's like, I actually want to appeal to both of those ends. So we want to add more late game content, but we also, especially right now, we're focusing on the early game, on that the options we provide to players, trying to make that experience smooth for all skill levels.
That's really hard too, because like a lot of games, like we've been playing a lot of Call of Duty, or not Call of Duty, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And it starts out like it's in an RPG, and they added a point later where it's more just, there's none of the RPG elements. So some areas are, for no reason, they're just like, 5 stars difficulty, and some of them are 1. And like, what's the difference? I always love the scalable stuff, but it's so hard to do that unless you're recording everything the person does, and then you can assess their skill level and then increase the challenge accordingly. That's a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
Is there a way that's not too taxing on the quest that you could think of to do that? Because like, how do you please both people without a static like level of difficulty setting or something?
So for the, let's say, the more hardcore players, we want to add more late game content, more secrets. Like, yeah, I mean, there's shortcuts, for example, that you can unlock to later areas. But if you want to do the proper current ending, you have to do it from the start. That's one thing. And as we want to make, for the new players, we want to make that first quarter of the game like something that they could level up and make easier for them. Like roughly that first quarter, first 30%. And as we make that easier, then we want to add more content in the late game, more higher tier weapons that you could unlock, more levels, more secret areas that you could find, and then and like our long-term ambition with the game is to have like a really interwoven sets of secrets that you would have to first discover and then execute, and it would provide then an extra challenge for the people who are seeking that challenge.
I love it when games put in like secrets where you don't even know they're really there, and
Yeah.
then you start to pick up on it. I don't know how hard it is to put those, because my brain goes to like, games like Mystery. You got to figure out a puzzle. How do you put something like that in there where they could be playing this game and no idea how deep it really is?
Yeah.
Maybe only 10% of the players even do that, and it's like such a monumental effort. What's the scale and balance for that stuff? It's
Yeah, I mean, and I think to do a secrets or a chain of secrets or like how do you say this, interrelated sets of puzzles, like you really need to think about it and do it properly. And unfortunately, we just didn't have enough time to do everything we wanted to by launch. But we have some really ambitious ideas that we want to add to the game. And you mentioned this earlier, like, I mean, we worked on the game for a while. Like, we set up now like a pipeline for creating new content, new weapons, enemies, upgrades, and levels. So, like, once we've settled down with all the early release feedback and bug fixes and early game polish, we're really going to dig in on adding new content to the game and fleshing out the game world even further. So, like, I don't want to promise anything publicly here. Like, I'm very careful about but like one thing we want to experiment with is like hacking.
Love hacking in games, yes.
Yeah, like, you could hack the robots. You could hack.
I was gonna say I'd like to
rooms.
hack one of these little guys and have them fight for me, because I love it when
Yeah,
I love the randomness, because you're like in a couple rooms like, yeah, it's pretty easy, and then in the next room there's like 20 guys. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then all hell breaks loose. You're just shooting and crap. But
yeah,
it'd be kind of fun to hack one of those little I don't know the name of it, but like the little guys that explode when they get near you, or something like that.
the little spider mines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we want to also add like just a chip that like, or a chip or a special upgrade that like when you shoot an enemy, you basically they fight for you for like 10 seconds. But
Those
maybe
big builders would be fun for that.
yeah, that would
Spiders
be
or
awesome.
whatever they are.
Yeah,
I do love stuff like that, because once I realize that kind of stuff in games, I might, if there's, I don't know if there's such a thing as like setting up a class, but if there's, extra upgrades, like, the things in the arm where you drop them in, and then a gun that does that stuff, I will like set up a complete support class where like I don't fire a bullet. I try to, hypnotize or do whatever and just see if I can manage that, because of, way back in Warcraft, one of the updates they did was like one tiny thing. I think you play as dwarves and you get like a party of 3 people and you give them commands and they're doing stuff. And I was like, why don't games have classes like that? Like, I don't want to stab anybody. I don't want to do anything. I want to be like the squad commander and give orders and have a nice order system. Like, I will literally, like, in, what's that, Watch Dogs Legion, you can, that game's got weird things where like any NPC you can kind of recruit if you do a couple missions. And some of those people have like hypnosis, like literally like that's in their profile, and they got like a weird hat with a watch, and that's their thing, and you can hypnotize people. I will go around and get the crap shot out of me and like be hypnotizing guards that have no business being anywhere near because they have like big shotguns and stuff, and I'll be like hypnotize, and then it's the weirdest thing. But if you had like hacking stuff in that,
yeah,
I would get killed by that hunter guy every time because I'd be hacking everybody.
Well, you maybe could hack the hunter guy as well.
Oh no!
That would be.
Tell me that.
We like, yeah, no, those are awesome ideas. And you mentioned classes. That's actually something we're going to have in our big December update.
Wow.
Is sort of
Nice.
unlockable classes. Then that's how we're going to address or try to start addressing the run-to-run progression. Like a couple classes you can unlock, a couple upgrades you can unlock within those classes, and that system is going to lay the groundwork for more classes in future updates. And you know what you just call like this sort of not tanky, but like sort of possessing other people. That that would be one of many classes you could play as, and customize further to your liking, and that should give you an edge on the first quarter of the game or so. Because yeah,
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Like, especially the hacking stuff specifically, because when I, first played the Cyberpunk that came out, was that a year ago already almost? I was like, oh, this hacking mini game is close to like actual, like I can understand the buffering or whatever is going on. I remember being really excited about it. And I did that so much that like, I didn't have to shoot anybody anymore. I just like hacked everybody and exploded this and did that. And then, all this crazy stuff. And it actually got boring because it was just so easy to hack everybody. Oh, I've ruined it for myself.
it's that how do you say, it's that you have to have that very careful curve of progression. Like if it suddenly gets too easy, then it removes all the challenge and it's no longer fun. But if it's too hard, then you don't do it. It's If you're into hacking and all these things, there's a itch.io page called, I think it's called like Museum of Lockpicking.
Nice.
And some guy, some developer who's re-implemented all the different hacking and lockpicking mechanics from games from the last 20 years. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Holy shit.
Well, I don't know if he's turning it into a full experience, but like there's tons of demos that he's put out.
I'm gonna have to look at that because, like, I was sitting there, back in the Skyrim days, thinking like, I need to make a mod because when you go to pick a lock, it like pauses the game, and I'm like, I don't want that. I want like if I'm in the dungeon, like when you get arrested and your stuff's in a box and there's guards walking around, I want to be like the guard just turned. I think he's gonna go down the hallway. I need to hurry up and do this and keep that sense of urgency. Otherwise, it's too easy. You sit there until they turn around and you steal something or you pick that lock and it takes you 15 minutes to get it or whatever, and your stuff keeps breaking and nobody catches you. Like I like the hacking. That's cool. I'm gonna have to look that up.
That's cool to hear. Yeah, I mean, when we're going to introduce that, but sometime next year.
No hurry.
I'm always interested and kind of amazed. Like, so how long do you plan on working on this title before you kind of start? I mean, you probably start other things, but when your focus shifts, like how long of a window do you normally do?
I mean, it depends on every game. So, like, all the previous games, we were always just sort of hustling on the bare minimum budgets that we had. So this one, we had a much bigger budget, and we have a bit of runway still to continue working on the game. And like, I would like to work on this game as long as it's financially feasible. So my dream, like as part of trying to build a sustainable studio, is to like embrace this sort of games as a service model. So if we can get enough players like picking up copies every month, where we can keep like a core team, like a streamlined core team working on this game, then we would work on this indefinitely. We have for sure enough ideas for a year's worth of content and probably more. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that combined with the early feedback and our ongoing updates and the nature of the VR market, like it's still small, but it's growing constantly. Like there's new Quest players like all the time, that we could sustain enough revenue to cover our costs. And if that's the case, then we'll do this indefinitely. But on the other side, we're definitely thinking about the next projects, because I have no idea if this is going to be sustainable or not. I have a rough idea, but it depends. Like I've got to think about the next project. I mean, we've been thinking about the next projects for a long time, but now I've got to start, spreading our risks, let's say, and trying to get the next projects off the ground in case this doesn't pan out.
Yeah, it's always you just never a great game that goes unnoticed. Like that,
Yeah.
if this was like my baby and I wanted to keep on working on it forever, but nobody was paying me, then it's a passion project and it's not.
Yeah.
You can't feed your team. That sucks.
Yeah, so we're gonna see. We haven't put the game on sale yet, like on discount. We got this big progression update before the Christmas sales. So I'm hoping for, like, we have a pretty decent rating. We're just under 4 or 5 on Quest. Like, and we're working hard to get over it. Like, we unfortunately launched with a few bugs, a few game-breaking bugs.
Oh.
I'd be happy to tell you some funny stories about that in a bit, but
Please do.
I think with that rating, people like the art style, people like the gameplay, people want shooters. There should be enough of an audience, and it's now our challenge is continuously spreading the word and trying to get others to do that as well.
Hey, I'm glad you're saying that update's coming out in December because I take half of the month off every year, and this is one of the games I want to play because I've played a lot, but I haven't played as much as I want to.
Yeah.
I always have to be playing other things. But and I haven't even. You have a daily challenge run option. I haven't even.
Yeah.
I keep trying to get through the actual game before I've done that, so I haven't even done it yet. What does that entail? How does that mix it up?
Yeah, that's like a unique seed that is the same for all players worldwide for that one day, and you can play it once. So you get one shot at it, and then you have a leaderboard just for that day.
That's awesome, and it gives you a reason to come back. I always like my favorite thing about Quest is you pick it up, play a game for 20 minutes, you're good.
Yeah.
When you have time, because as real life responsibilities and being an adult, all that fun stuff we were talking about earlier, impedes my gaming time. Like, my heart is with PC VR, but I love the Quest. Just throw it on, play something when you have 20 minutes, and you're good. So I'm gonna have to start trying that because I didn't really know what it was. I'm like, well, I'll check it out, but I haven't. I don't think I've gotten halfway through a full run yet because I end up dying.
Well, I mean, if I'm completely honest, like I have not managed to beat the game yet, and but my own colleagues shame me about it. But I have the same situation as you. Like I can't put enough hours into it to get good enough to beat the whole game with it.
Yeah, and I don't think I just want to point this out because Ancient Dungeon just launched, and it's a roguelike, and that game is awesome. My favorite thing they've added to that is a save feature. So you get through one thing, you can save it because, like I said, time constraints. Like, I want to go through a run, but I'd have to do it on like a weekend or something because, we get home at night, I eat and go to bed, and So I don't know if you have plans for that, but I think that really helps in those scenarios if it's an interest or not. But
yeah, it's something early on we just made a choice not to have a save feature. It's something we could add, but it's not high on the priority list. And like going back to your point about these short game sessions, like that's something we focused on. Like you should be able to get through the whole game. Like an experienced player can get through the whole game in 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. And that's
I feel bad
sort of
now. I must
no, I mean that's okay. Like that's sort of that's like the ideal amount of time, more than that, like it's too long for a single run without a save, like, and it's sort of catered as well for that VR experience. Like you want to play 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The only danger here, like if you play for 10 minutes and then you die, you're going to fire it up again, and then you're going to die, you're going to fire it up again, and then it might quickly turn into an hour.
Yeah. I probably should have asked that, like, while I was playing, because I don't know, my mind is weird sometimes. I'm like, because I've played for like 40 minutes, and I don't, like, you have like the map and you kind of show like the progression.
Okay.
But in my mind, it just never clicked. Right? Like, I don't know how long this is going to take me, so I just played for 20, 30 minutes, and like, what I got.
Well, Yeah, I mean, maybe we need to communicate that more clearly. Like, but like, I don't want people to say, "Oh, the game's 30 to 40 minutes long. That's really long,
Yeah, yeah.
really short. I'm going to refund it." But like, you know, it's going to take you. It should take you a few hours before you're good enough to get
Right.
through a run of the game. So the
And
point
that's
is, you're going to die a lot, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have. Um,
Definitely.
and playing as many VR games as I do, like I probably should know that it's like tailored for that shorter run. And just my whole gaming history is like this long, and my VR like is this long. So my brain sometimes shifts to old stuff. But yeah, it's funny. Like my favorite moments are like when I think I clear a room and there's like a little corner I didn't see, and a robot comes out and that scares the shit out of me. It kills me.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's normally how I die, because I didn't check my blind spot.
Mm-hmm.
We get used to the breach and clear and pie slices and checking. I love the fact that if you have a daily challenge and it's kind of like a bite-sized thing, but you only get to play it once or something like that. That sounds cool, because like
Yeah.
a lot of games have the daily and weekly repeatables or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it just starts to turn into a job. Like it's, I can't get this cool gun in Destiny because it's stuck behind the weekly. And it's like, oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it kind of pairs in with, giving players like, like choices or your missions where like, it's fine if you fail it because you'll get another one tomorrow. And some people like, I get stuck behind things like that. Like, I just don't want to do it. But if it's like, it's bite sized and it's fine. Like, I don't like the thing where like you fail a mission and you have to restart it. It's kind of like, can't games be more like movies where like the main star never really died, like get shot and hurt and whatever, but there's always a way to finish it, even if it's a stealth mission and you blow the cover. Does it have to be the end of the mission? Can't you damage control it or whatever? But it's just a stupid difficulty wall. But like, it's like, it's okay if you screw up because you'll have another one tomorrow when it leans over into those bite-sized daily things. So that's cool. I like I haven't played it, but like I like the thought of only doing it once. It takes a little bit of it might add pressure to some people, but for me, it's kind of like a quick test, like how good have I gotten? Let's see if I can do this one. And then.
Yeah. And you get, I mean, a lot of our game is heavily inspired from a game called Spelunky. Don't know if you're familiar with it. And it's a, fantastic game. And like, but like, it's the same thing for me. I play Spelunky a lot, even though I still have not beat that game. Like I can get to the boss, the normal boss. I can do most of the secrets as well to, in theory, get to the final world, which I've never ever accessed. But like I like doing a daily run once in a while just to see where I rank up with everybody else on that one particular run, because the other leaderboards are filled with more hardcore players.
Yeah.
Also quite against. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, we don't lock away any sort of weapons or things like that behind like these types of challenges. I mean, it's not our style of game, anyways. But we want the whole plethora of in-game content to be available to you. Some of it is in later areas, or you're more likely to get it in later areas, but it's all there. From the beginning. Perfect.
Yeah. I didn't want to like say that and like have the listeners think it's like that. I was just saying, I like the fact that, it's bite sized, because the one thing I hate in games is, the locked content there. You have to buy like DLCs or, microtransactions or whatever. But like, I want this because I've seen it in a screenshot and I have that one. It's like, well, you got to go on the raid. Well, like, I don't know 4 people that play this game closely well enough to get through a raid.
Yeah.
Can't have it. And like, can't play it then. Like I'm, if I can't have this stuff, then I'm not going to play the game. Like it's like a one-sided, non-existent fight between me and the developer because I hate their game design. But you're adding in cool elements, but you seem to be, your team or your design aspect, thought process seems to be like, add in cool elements, but don't piss off the players. And that's awesome.
Yeah, just add more options. Like, I don't like that stuff either. You just mentioned, like, it's frustrating, and they're doing it because it fits their business model, and some players like that as well. Love grinding that or getting the
showing
constants.
off, and
yeah. but that's not what we want to do. Like it's a premium game. You pay and you get the full game, and you get the fact that we want to keep adding new stuff to it. But that's and I like that model, and I see that model works for some games in VR. You know, like H3 VR, like you know, not that we're on that level or anything like that, but that's sort of like our, you know, our guiding star, let's say. Like they're just constantly adding new stuff for you to play with and experience, and you just pay for the game once and you get all of that.
I love that idea too, but like, is there a balance? This is just a random game industry question. But is there a balance between like, if you have a huge team, because again, some people are single devs and some people have 2 people, and you guys have 6 to 20 or whatnot, 6 to 12. Like, is there a balance between like, we might not be able to bring in that many new copies if we're, you know, if I was making a game and I was like, but if I charge a little bit for the DLCs, like here's an update to get the core players that do like the game. I wonder if there's like some sort of formula that's kind of like, you know, I can't, like, if everybody who's ever going to buy my game has already bought it, I have no more income. But those people like are dedicated to the game, money for like the new content, and I feel bad because I love those games like, you know, No Man's Sky, where like, I don't know, I came out in 2016. I built a PC for it in 2016, and it's still getting free updates.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, because they made I think they made a shit ton of money. Well, I hope they did, and they can support it.
They did, but there's all sorts of controversy over that too. But it's also
yeah,
like,
sure.
It's also
like
it's 5 years on, and then they came out with a VR version. It's like, how are they not asking $20 for the VR version or something like that, or the update? I have no idea.
I mean, I think that's their way of. I mean, I really like what they're doing. I think it's their way of. It's another way of growing their market and reaching new customers somehow. It's like, well, you're gonna keep getting these updates, or for that money you get that game plus 15 updates.
Right.
I think it's that's what we're going for. Like whether that works or not, or whether it's the best model or not, is I think it strongly depends on the game and on the team and the market. Like you said, but I like that model better. It feels more ethical to me personally.
Right. I totally agree. Yes.
And we might be leaving money on the table if we do an in-app. But if I have to think about in-app updates and all this stuff, then I have to start thinking about how to manage that, and then we have to be a bit more careful about what do we put in a free update and not. And if I just remove all those considerations, then it's one less problem that we have to tackle.
That is a good point. Yeah.
But whether it's the most financially sound decision is another question. So,
and I mean, some good game devs, you know, they're not like about squeezing every last penny, but I was just saying, like, you know, if I was a solo game dev and I made a cool game and it was a niche, but nobody else is probably going to buy it, maybe one person a year might buy it. How would this is just, you know, Wookiee thinking in his own brain here. How would I keep working on that?
Yeah.
Or would you have to abandon it and those players would slowly leave the game? It's like,
Yeah, I mean, like the thing about what we want to do, like after this project, is network-based VR experiences, like multiplayer stuff. That's where we want to go as a company. We have never been able. I didn't want to tackle that problem until we had the experience and the know-how and a more solid base. Yeah, because it's ambitious. But like when I look like at the Gorilla Tag game, for example, which is, I don't know if it's cheap or free right now, but like,
Free.
Yeah, how is that guy gonna sustain himself? Like he's got now this massive community. So like if he were to introduce in-app purchases, cosmetics, and all these things, I think that would be like a brilliant way to.
I think they have it. It's just the App Lab is about to say they can do that, but they make all their money on like the Steam side. That's what I heard.
Okay.
Like, but their huger base is on Oculus because everyone's got it just picked up, but they can't make any money on there because Oculus doesn't let them. But they're about to change that policy, I think.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
That's my thing too. Like, do you sit? You know, do you make like 10 games so you get the awesome experience and then add multiplayer? But then you see those flukes where like somebody just made a game just to see if they could make a game about tag, and put in multiplayer, and it's just like boom, it's everywhere, and it's like, well, that proves that, you know, AAA photorealistic graphics don't always matter. Just make it fun first, and then add your cool style. All you need, like perfect. It's
but not every
just
game is going to get that traction, right?
right.
I don't even know if the developers expect it to get that traction, right? It's for us, like I haven't. There are different scenarios we could approach. Like if we do multiplayer game, depends what type of game. Like I'm leaning towards making it free and open and building up that user base, and then figuring out the best way to monetize it from my ethical point of view. So like I don't play Fortnite or anything like that, but I like and respect the fact that all their monetization are cosmetics. There's the whole ethical side of like targeting whales and like there are issues and all these things, but I think I prefer that than like buy to play or buy to go up in skills or
it's a bad trend, I think. But
so I still don't have the answer for this game, so I'm hoping games as a service works as a model, like but maybe in 6 months I can tell you more if that was the right choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all games need multiplayer either, but sometimes I definitely think there's and I fall into the trap too. Like sometimes I'm looking at a cool game and like, oh man, this would be great with co-op with PJ, but it's single player, and I might immediately discount it. And that's not really fair, but it's also when your time's limited and you have a preference, and it's like, well, some people need to get out of their own expectations too. They need to try some stuff. I know.
Yeah, we would have loved to put in co-op for Sweet Surrender. Like, it's something we thought about from day one, but it's also a choice we made very early on. Is like, if we want to hit any sort of release, like if we put co-op on top of everything else we're trying to do, we're never going to achieve it. Whether or not we add it later on, that depends on how things go in the next few months. But we'd love to, but it would not be trivial. That's
the thing. Yeah, it's always a thing. Yeah, not all games need it. This co-op also adds a layer of frustration. You got to know people, you got to be able to communicate with them and all that stuff. And then that, do you handle some of that communication with visual cues in the game? Then there goes your whole level design concepts, and like, screw that.
Yeah, and it's not just the networking stuff. You got to think about the whole how do you balance the game when you're playing co-op or not.
Like when the new Halo in it, I think it's more open world. I was reading, and the co-op isn't available at launch because they were like, we don't know how to balance. We have Halo, which is usually pretty big areas, but a linear game, and now they want to jump into the Witcher 3 Ubisoft RPG-ish market.
Yeah,
and they don't know how to to balance that. What if there's a player over on this end of the giant map and there's one over here, but you're playing like squad game? Like, how do you make them tethered? I remember somebody was just like lining out why they might not do that, and I'm like, all good questions, but they just had to pick a launch date because games of service, you got to start somewhere, and that's what they're starting with. So big choices.
Yeah, it's not easy.
That's why I just I've said it before many times, like especially in VR, like the devs are just my heroes because put themselves out on the line, like financially and many other ways. Like, it takes a lot of guts to say, hey, we're doing this, and I'm always impressed. Like, and that was kind of where my next question was going, was how did you guys just, like, where did VR come from for you? Like, how did you say, hey, this is what we want to do and try it? And this is your third game that I know of, and I don't know if you've made anything outside of VR, but
yeah. So, well, I mean, just to give a bit of history on that. Our first game was called Ellipsis, and it was not a VR game. It was an iPad game. It's launched on iPad first, and then Android and PC later on, also Steam, and it was touch based. Like it's a game like I'm really proud of, but it's like nothing to do with VR. Uh, it, we then pivoted into VR because uh, I saw it as the future of, like, not necessarily of gaming, but as like a future market that's only gonna grow and get better. Like, the first time I tried VR with hand controls, I was like, okay, this is amazing. Like, as
Yep.
everybody who's using VR now knows, like that
Yeah.
first time you feel that presence and the interactions, all that you feel, and so
Yeah.
we decided to pivot in that direction as a sort of a long-term play. Like, it's a small market, but it means a lot of funding is being put into it. It means there's opportunities to stand out, and it means you can grow with that market, hopefully. So that that's how we first started focusing there. But yeah, our previous two games that were low budget, we didn't have much money, so we focused on trying out ideas that we hadn't seen yet in VR. So Late for Work was, uh, we love VR, but VR is very isolating when you're doing it with other people physically. How can we make it more of a group event? So Late for Work is one person has a headset, and the other people are playing on the PC monitor with gamepads or keyboards, and giant gorilla versus small humans, or giant gorilla
Yep.
versus aliens, or giant gorilla versus cows, and yeah, that resonated well with like families with kids, or just like 20-something-year-olds playing VR at a friend's house, and yeah,
Admittedly, I haven't played that, or even like I haven't played any asymmetric games in VR.
yeah.
I think I tried Davigo once, but like that whole concept seems like VR out of VR, anything seems so like underdone. Like there's
It, it's underdone because it's like a niche within a niche.
right.
Like local multiplayer. I mean, ideally, then you want like network support as well, which is just a
Mhm.
whole other level of complexity. But like it's something again I'm very proud of. But like getting one VR player rendered and four split screen players playing,
Mhm.
and pick up and play, and like a very forgiving pick up and play. Like, you can connect, disconnect, all these things. Like,
Right.
it was hard. It took a lot of work. And it's stable now, and we haven't updated the game in 2 years, and it's still stable, and it's still not selling a lot, but it's still selling steadily, a little bit here, a little bit there, and uh, it's just hard. And I think it's hard to make enough money in that market. Like,
Like
As
Fable had one, and then they dropped it part way. But I think we tried it, and that was like, well, this is cool because you're the end boss laying traps for the party, and then the other party looks just like a Fable game running through it, and I was like, what the hell?" And canceled.
yeah,
What?
yeah,
just curious with like asymmetrical games, because like I said, all my friends have moved on away and stuff. My wife plays games, but doesn't. She's like an old school gamer. Because like 3D VR, especially, kind of makes her a little nauseous. But
yeah.
has what's it called, remote play with through Steam help with that at all? Because there's a couple co-op games, like asymmetrical games, like I've tried to get her to play. She's played a couple, and we've had a lot of fun. With like Steam remote play, like I've been meaning to get Wookiee into some of these things and do that. I
So
don't know if you guys have played with that at all, but
when it came out, right when we were wrapping up our development Late for Works, and we tested it, and I mean, there's nothing you need to do to explicitly support it. It just works. But we tested it, and it works. If the connection is decent, and it works. Like, um, I think that's a really cool addition, but it works only for certain games, right? Like, if they're more Twitch-based reaction games, then you really struggle. Like, I tried playing Spelunky with remote play across the Atlantic. That was just horrible for one of the parties. Like,
Yeah.
it was just not playable. But I think remote play and things like that they're great add-on solutions. Like, if you can build that into your game and get the latency as low as possible, then it's the ideal situation. But it's challenging. But
Yeah, it's a lot
remote
of
play,
time and effort for
yeah,
maybe very little return. Maybe.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, like this remote play, like I was last night playing uh Golden Axe and Streets of Rage with a friend over Parsec
Nice.
on main, like or on the SNES emulator, or no, Mega Drive emulator, Genesis emulator. Anyways,
Yeah.
but like that sort of distance space, but you're still playing together and sitting in a room, or what we're doing right now, like I think that's going to be a large portion of future play, you know, enjoying these experiences together. Uh, so I'm a big proponent of.
That's definitely there because, like, doing the podcast in VR, we've talked with a few guests about it. Like, we used to just use Discord, and it was fine.
Yeah.
Then you hop in here, and then you're talking with our hands, and you can nod, and you're looking at each other, and sometimes
Yeah.
you get that you're not really in the same room, especially with the Ready Player Me avatar things. Like, PJ looks like PJ, and other people have their photos on the little business card when you click on them, and like their avatar looks a lot like their photo. So thankfully, that's kind of accurate. And then,
All right. I just tried to click on you and teleport it away.
teleported to drop. But then, this is a don't get my business card from this one. I had an issue with the website. I had to make a new account. That's why there's a 2 on my name over here.
Right.
But like it just adds another layer of reality to it because what we were doing like a couple weeks ago, we were doing something and just kind of forgot that you weren't right next to each other.
Yeah.
I think I was going to sneeze after I go too, and I muted myself, but I didn't. I still did the head thing.
After a podcast, we were just down there talking, and like I saw him literally like sneeze, and he muted it, like you said. But I'm like, dude, he just freaking sneezed. Like, that's awesome.
It's such a good thing. So
just part of the reality.
When you said you do the podcast in VR, at first I was like, wait, what? And then this is awesome because it's like you said, you have so much of this presence. You're looking at me right now, I'm looking at you.
Yep.
What is conveyed with these three, the hands and the head, there's so much human emotion, all the subtle movements
for communication, you might be like trying to explain something. Like I'm going off on a tangent about how much I love that, one panel here, all the panels, but the one thing specifically. And, I look at you and I see you nod or like shake your head or something like that. And that's part of the communication you just don't have, somehow we used to always manage to interrupt each other and stuff like that, like real conversations, where when you do that in just audio chat, it's kind of detrimental because you're like, everybody stops and then you try to take turns speaking and it's like you're on a CB radio, but in real life, it's just part of the conversation. It's just,
yeah, exactly. It makes this whole conversation for me personally, like I'm a lot more relaxed and natural. So that's been really cool. And yeah, I'm excited about that future, like my current favorite VR game is Walkabout Mini Golf,
Yeah.
And it's like it's got the shittiest avatars and like super basic, but it's an awesome social experience. Yeah.
Is that so much better than the Top Golf one? Because we played Top Golf and now everyone's playing Walkabout. I'm like, well, I got one mini golf game. Do I need another one?
Well,
but then I keep seeing everybody using Walkabout now.
They're totally different. Like Top Golf started as like mini golf. They're going to release their full actual course like soon. Like I'm in the beta of it. But Walkabout just has very charming, like the avatars aren't awesome, like at all. But the maps, if you call them maps, are just charming. They're really well done. The holes like are really good. And then there's like a hard mode. And you can unlock hard mode by beating them all or finding balls. There's a ball to find in every hole. And I just learned this last time when we were playing with the Let's Talk Oculus podcast guys. There's a scavenger hunt in every map. I didn't even know that was a thing because I just saw like something there. I'm like, what's this? And I pick it up and try to find this, and it's just really neat. Like it's the whole experience.
That's a neat
yeah, you're having fun, and then while other people are like taking their shot, if you have a larger group, you can go look for a ball. You can look for the scavenger hunt things. Yeah. And they just announced yesterday I don't know what, I'm going to mess this up, but like adventure mode where they're kind of teasing like Indiana Jones type like
Yeah, like
exploration while you're playing.
lost
Like I don't even know
cities.
what it is. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
got it.
I just saw a
So
tweet go viral. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I haven't played Top Golf, but yeah, the Walkabout mini golf is just very chilled. Like,
yep.
it was a great way for me to catch up with some friends, and like almost a little envious or jealous. Like it's such a simple concept, but it's really well executed. Like the
Yeah.
physics of it feels really nice, and there's like
Yeah.
there's so many like little things I think they could do better, but there's already tons of things they do really well as well. Like it's very impressive.
Like they just released their last map less than a month ago, I'm pretty sure, and it's like a little. I don't know. It's not Swedish, but it reminds me of like a Swedish little village with windmills, and they added a flying feature. You can just fly around.
Hmm.
And that was less than a month ago, and now they're already announcing another thing. Like they're just constantly working on that game. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think they built up a nice user base, and they can afford to keep pumping
Yeah.
out new content. Yeah, it sort of feeds the machine, or feeds itself.
Yeah, like even like we were going back to the conversation, like the hanging out in VR is so cool. It's like even if we hit a dead spot and like what we're talking to guests, like we're doing now, a dead spot, like everybody just looks over at the assets on the wall, and then there's more talking points. Whereas like audio only, or even just a Zoom call, the only thing you like, well, making fun of people's the wall behind them, so their house
Yeah.
is messy, so then they use just a backdrop and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But here's like, oh yeah, back to the game. We got guns in hands and screenshots. It's just awesome. You can't really replicate VR as much as I was going to complain when we first started talking, because it is a little chilly in my house. So I'm like, if I can gripe about VR right now, one thing, I'm trying to like organize 4 blankets because it's chilly in here, and I like it chilly. I like to wrap up with blankets, but when I got the straps and the controllers and the thing in my head, and I can't keep the blankets in there, I'm like, ah. Then you get in and start talking, and I don't even remember that I'm chilly. It's like engaging. It's worth the time to put that headset on. It's the
Yeah.
hardest thing to explain to people. Like, I don't want to put that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now with the Quest, like it's that you can have that experience with like pretty much wireless. Like okay, whatever battery life you get, but still, like it's that whole setup is gone. It's amazing. It's mind blowing. It's like science fiction, right? It is literally science fiction come to life.
Yeah, and I still have my old Rift, and that's where we started.
Sorry.
Warping. And I love the Rift. PJ still plays his a lot, but like my office setup, I had 3 sensors, couldn't really get them to work. There was always a dead spot in this one corner. So we'd play Pavlov, and I'd like turn to shoot, and my hands would wig out, and I would just be like for a second, and I'd die, and I'd get mad at it, and the cable and all that stuff. And then
Yeah.
every time I'd like bump a sensor, you'd have to go. They fixed it later. They just had a quicker setup. You'd have to go through like the entire. I'd have to like do the calibration for the controller. Like you just woke up in Halo, and they're like, look up and look it down and jump, and it's like, come on. Took you like 20 minutes to get through it all.
Yeah.
They streamlined it and fixed it, but now it's just like plop. It remembers my Guardian. I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Can't beat it.
it's improved so much. I remember those pain points as well. Like how many times we've set up a Rift and just it's such a headache. And now I feel like it's a mass market device. It's
What they're going for.
it's
Makes
getting
sense.
there, and I mean it's only going to get better now. Like the software will get better. That onboarding experience. Like one thing the Road to VR guy gripes about all the time is that you can't launch an app from your phone and then put on your headset and you're in the app. Like, I mean, that's coming, right? Like, all
would
these
think
things
so.
are coming. Yeah. So I think it's nice to see how it's progressed, and I think we live like in a magical time now.
Yeah, they
And-
just announced that I don't remember if it's called homes or spaces, but like when we first got into VR with the Rift, like you had your room and all that stuff. They're finally bringing that to Quest because like we've said it on the podcast before, but the coolest thing to me was like you're in that room and you can decorate it, watch videos, hang out. But then you can have a system there, pick up a game, put it in there, and it launches it for everyone in the room. And it's like, that's so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Miss doing that, yeah, because you'd have your libraries, and I spent way too long, like, having a game system and a couple of games like on the table, like casually, like if you just walked into my room and like I'm like making them askew just right. I'm like, save it, and it looks perfect. And then it's, why did I just do that? It looks cool. And then now you don't have it in the Quest, and it's like, well, sometimes you didn't want it, and now when you don't have it, it's like, oh, I missed that. We were talking to Techman a couple weeks ago, Techman Jew.
Yeah.
And he was like, I rearranged my real life game room to match the VR room he was setting up. So like he moved his tables and he made it match. So like I can sit down in my chair and I'm sitting down in the room and it's all right there. Like, and I was like, that's insane, but really cool. Cause then you just put on your headset, walk around your room. And then you're like you could just get like IKEA boxes and stuff for furniture and you could just reskin it inside and all that.
Yeah.
Kind of cyberpunky, but.
And I think that that'll just become automatic in the future. Like it'll just scan your room, and I've detected a table here and a chair there. Would you like to? I think they're trying to do that with the keyboard stuff as well.
Yep.
Like which
would be really nice because I don't like picking the headset up and even tapping to get the pass through is kind of like lose out on something.
Does anyone? I don't know. I don't think I've updated my Quest yet, but the last update. They added, so like if my cat runs through, it'll actually kind of show it in the Guardian. Has anyone seen that yet?
I don't have any cats, so I don't.
Maybe a child.
I think it was Children and Large Pets that said or something like that.
Yeah.
You'll actually see him run through, so you don't kick him.
That's funny because we were just talking to. Now I'm really bad with names, so I feel bad. But with that dinosaur game, got around to joking about it'd be cool if like a cat ran in, and it headset turned that into an in-game asset, so I knew it was there, but it didn't break immersion. Like that's what I'm excited for because I want to do that. But.
I forget the name of that too, but it was a really charming game like Pokemon Snap, but like dinosaurs. But yeah, if you're like walking along, and like if you have your game has applicable, like you've got little spider bots, and you had a specific spider bot.
Yeah,
was like,
spawns out of nowhere.
Yeah, it just kind of like runs across like between two bushes or behind boxes, and you're like, the kid's in the room.
It just like walks up to you, tries to give you a hug because it's going to bed.
Yeah, just be like, I can't. Do I slap? Might punch it. You got to make it something obvious, so it's not like enemy.
Oh, a health pack! Come here, health pack.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Like third party.
I love how they're mixing this pass-through stuff and into the VR, like because you get a lot of discussions like about AR versus VR and what's going to come. Like, I think long term it's all going to be merged together, but it's interesting that the applicable uses of these sort of mixed reality things are coming from VR.
Yeah,
and like it's useful for you to have a pass-through mode because you want to not knock into things while you're wearing a headset, and in this process it's opened up all these doors for doing this mixed reality stuff.
Well, like it's great to have like research and development budgets, and it's great for your teams not to have like 100% utilization, because if teams workers across any facet are like, if I work my 8 hours or whatever it is, and 100% of that time is me slaving away, I don't have any time to breathe to make my processes better or better the company. Because like you implement a neat feature like that, and it's just so you don't stub your freaking toe. But then it's like, wait a minute, now people are making like zombie games where you're walking around in your house with the pass through, and I wouldn't do it because I don't want flashbacks when I'm walking around trying to pee at night to have a zombie pop out. But it's like, oh wait, this is actually the best thing. Like, and it was just a throwaway idea. Like, love that R&D.
Yeah, and that's what that's what's exciting about the Quest. Like, is Facebook is a very controversial company, and a lot of positive and negative things that could be said. Like what they're doing specifically with the Quest and with the software and the R&D. Like they're pushing the market forward. And that's worth something. Like I'm glad that they're making these efforts.
As much bad as you can be said about it, and I hope they take away the having to make the accounts or whatever like that. But it's like if they weren't doing what they're doing, wouldn't have any of this like thing on my face as easy as it would. We just still have Nintendo's Virtual Boy or whatever monstrosity was.
Yeah, we'd be like 3-4 years behind where we are today, I think.
That's something to be said.
Yeah.
Like as you said, like AR VR mix. It's almost like in games where shooter games where you ping a radar and like a bubble wave goes out, and scans are like you go into heat vision, night vision. That's probably what AR and VR is going to be like. You walk around with your glasses on or whatever you're doing, and it's AR, and then you just like that, you double tap to go in, like in Quest 1, you double tap to go in the pass through, and just goes poof, and now you're in VR.
Yeah.
You want it, like it's just sort of like another layer to it, and they should.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think of the there's Ubisoft's working on. They're saying a couple of VR games. One's hopefully Assassin's Creed, but just the game Assassin's Creed, where you go from real life to back into the what's it called? I forget. Animus. I mean,
yeah, they're like Matrix.
You could just freaking do that because it's passed through, and then that'd be so weird if they pulled something like that off. It'd be crazy.
Just talking about that.
I wanted such. Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, talking about this stuff gets your brain going in possible directions. But
it's one of the features I wanted in our game. Like it's a completely pointless feature, but like I wanted that when you transition out of the menu into the game, like the environment redraws itself around you in a sci-fi way. But that's like just a super nice eye candy feature and nothing.
Right.
Like my colleagues are like, yeah, which gameplay feature do you want to drop for that so that we can get that in? I was like, okay, never mind.
I do like so like Wookie hasn't played it, and for anyone listening, watching, haven't played it, you kind of spawn into like your own room.
Yeah.
And then you do have like, I don't know how it works exactly, but there are like little models of enemies and things you found. I don't know, as you see them, maybe they pop up in the room and you can like pick them up.
Exactly.
I've killed this thing 20 some times, or this thing's killed you 40,000 times.
Nice.
Do you have any, like, if you want to describe that, and then if you have any like future plans for that, or?
Yeah, so that's sort of your home base, and like any good roguelike should have an area where you can come back and check on your progress. And those figurines are essentially like your logbook. Like these are the enemies you've encountered and maybe a little bit of information about them, and these are the weapons you've come across of unlocked so far. And the home base is right now it's still relatively bare bone, but it's meant to convey you're in some abandoned part of this ancient structure, and you have a little hideout here, and it's your starting point for the adventure. But it's also, that's where you can unlock shortcuts to other areas, and it's an area, it's a room we want to keep building on. So as you accomplish more things in a game, it transforms into something more, how do you say this? Like just a cooler area to be in. You collect more things that you can play around with. Like right now, you can't. We show you the weapons that you have, but you can't shoot them. Like, and something to add would be like a shooting range. We want to add like a spawning room, like a sort of a sci-fi. I don't know if you remember the old Metal Gear Solid games, like the really old ones. They had like a whole section of mini games which were sneaking around in the tiny little level. Anyway, I just want to like be able to spawn a weapon and a couple enemies as well, or even something we never managed to get into the game, but would have been great for development, was just like spawn just a single room from one of the levels, and then spawn one of the variations and see what happens in there and just play it. So there's a lot of things we want to keep adding to the home base as we add more features into the main game, so that's players have a sandbox area to play around with. Yeah.
That's a cool way to do lore, because like, I don't want to be like shooting something, then I bring up a menu and I'm like, okay, this guy does what? And you can just in that room pick up his little thing and it'll give you a little description, and it's really neat to do background. Because like menus, like we're still figuring out menus in VR, and I would love that. Like there's a menu, but not when you're in the rooms fighting and stuff. You can look at your wrist and stuff, but you don't have to pull up a menu or pause the game or any of that. So
Yeah.
having that in that home base is a really, really good option.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
It's-
like super basic logbooks that you can find. That's just like a little bit of lore we managed to squeeze into the first version. So like some previous fighters have left notes. But we'd like to add like a richer system where you could find audio tapes, or you could find just random items that don't necessarily have a gameplay sense, but like you could mess around with. Like our audio guy pushed really hard during development that you could find like a video, like a VCR, and like you could find like little videotapes, and then it'll just play some random nature scenery in your home base. They're just like, all right, yeah,
Like dystopian, like
But-
this is what the planet used to look like.
exactly,
You know, like
exactly.
somebody today we have TVs on the wall that you could use as a picture window if you wanted, and that's just like a ray of the. That would be freaking hilarious. Maybe one of those VHS tapes would be like some guy clambering into like a secret you might not have been able to find.
Yeah,
see
you could
this
drop
type
like
of
little
room
hints.
that's-
This pipe.
Yeah, and be like,
Yeah.
what's he doing?
Yeah,
And then it fuzzes out back to nature. That would be hilarious.
yeah.
God, that's
Yeah,
cool.
and I mean the logbooks are also meant to sort of drop hints of like other things that you could do, like what who are these robots? What's the story behind this world? Who's actually in charge and all these things? Those are things we have not really explored yet. We have a lot of ideas and we know we want to say, but they're not in the game yet. There's a whole other layer we want to peel back. Once
I do
That's-
that, but like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, we had our dev round table last night with a bunch of devs and you talking, and it's one of the things, like the balance between voice acting, voice and not, and like making you read things. I think that's the best way to accommodate everyone is just have it somewhere where, like, if I want to read it, awesome. If I don't, like, it's not interrupting the game at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of our driving guidelines is, be respectful to the player. Like, respectful of their time, just respectful in how you treat that, especially in VR where you can do things that are extremely uncomfortable for the player.
Yeah.
Or like, I just plugged in my headset because it was about to die, so you have to think of that. I'm sure is always on your guys' mind, and like,
Mm-hmm.
like my game room, if the heat kicks in because my wife is cold somewhere in the house, my game room gets really freaking hot, and I got this really hot thing on my head, and it's like,
Yeah. All that
Yeah,
stuff
there's
you
a lot
might not be able to take into
think about.
consideration, yeah. And what's the other game? The Demio game. Speaking of like save points, the Demio game we like to play. Sometimes we're about like 2 hours before they launched their like Rat King update, but one of those took like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Headset doesn't last 4 hours,
No.
and they didn't have save points in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're not thinking recipe for disaster, now they've got save points, but
Yeah,
things like
it-
that, you worry about it.
We were talking to Oculus like how to like pitch one of our updates, and they were pointing to the Demio one. It was like, if it's a really requested feature from the community, then it's totally fine to put on your store assets. Now with save functionality, because
Yeah.
that's what your community wants. Like they're gonna see that and they're gonna jump into the game, right away after. So
Yeah. Because, I mean, if you have a game where you're like all your loot is tied to you have to win, like you can accumulate all this stuff, but if you don't actually hit that exit, that finish
Yeah.
line, you lose it all. And you don't have, some sort of maybe save point or some feature like that. And that's what bugs me. And you're right. I might not even pay attention to that game anymore. And like, oh crap, they fixed that. I'm going to go try it.
yeah,
And, it might
yeah.
be the
I mean, I
same
can't
for-
promise we're gonna add save functionality one day, but like that. That's,
Yeah, I'm not pointing that out either, but yeah. I
No,
get you.
but the fact that we didn't have save functionality influenced how we treat certain things, like that each run on its own is not this. If your run ends, then it ends. You should still have the cool stuff that you've unlocked in your home base
Right.
to play around with, and it should like the friction to get back into another run should be as low as possible.
Right. Because, like, we were just talking about a game, Deep Rock Galactic, dwarves and stuff like that. We tried that in the 2-hour, 3-hour beta or whatever demo they gave you like ages ago.
Yeah.
Having a blast, and then when the time runs out, or you got to get your ore or whatever it was back, and then a horde of aliens comes and murdered us. Like we
Yeah.
had no chance to win that because there was only 2 of us. I think you need 4.
Yeah.
Lost everything, and it was like,
Yeah. Yeah, with no warning, right? That like
Right.
that you have to. I mean, it's a nice mechanic to like increase your risk and all this stuff. But if the first time you play, if you don't know and you just spent all that time and it's all gone, that's frustrating. Yeah.
you get people that like to do the stats and the min max, and I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna. Same thing with like a Vermintide 2 and stuff like that. There's people that you have to play it like a certain way because of this, that, and the other, and it's all about the stats and I guess the meta game at this point, which is probably not going to be a bad word, but like you can't play with those people and be casual and having fun. You have to do exactly like playing Call of Duty Zombies. You have to step here and do that and get yelled at, and it's like,
Yeah, no,
this
that's
is
not
my
for
hour
me
a
either.
day.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody chill the fuck out. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that stuff. We had I've been playing Warcraft with this guy, and I got in a guild, and we were doing it was like Wrath of the Lich King days, like I don't know what was that, 2008 or something. And I turned into like a beast of a tank. I didn't know what I was doing playing the game because I'd never gotten in the big raid guilds at that time. But I was doing the druid stuff. I was like, I was good at macros because we like scripting as people like us do, and I got it down to like left-hand keyboard, and I could tank just about anything in that update without even trying. I did like a Nax Ramus run where I was tanking everything and popping into tree form and healing everybody and then going back to tank, and everyone's like, what is wrong with this guy? He's crazy. And I met this guild leader, and he was like so impressed. So we started playing Xbox together. Usually I don't bring like weird people into like my core friend group and then piss them off. So we started playing them, and then I think we played Call of Duty Zombies with him because he was a huge fan, and he turned into like Hitler, like not to bad connotation, but he was like yelling at us because we didn't do stuff, and he was like, "Oh, sorry, I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to zombies." I'm like, "You might have said that because
Yeah.
I kind of hate you right now." And I've been playing them for like a year on one game, night and day, turns people into monsters, and I was like,
it's pretty crazy.
yeah. So like if you get to the point where you lose everything, everyone's gonna like, you can't make a mistake. You lose all your. I don't know. I just won't play that game again. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I get super socially uncomfortable online, so I'm very picky about my experience. I stopped playing Rocket League because I like felt bad letting down my 2v2 partners if I did, because I would have absolute brain fart moments where like suddenly I could not block the most basic pass for whatever reason, and like if that happens and you just let it go and you let down, I felt terrible when that would happen, and then just I couldn't live with that feeling. I was just like, okay, this is not fun for me anymore. I don't want to piss off somebody else online or ruin their experience.
The people that play all the time, they can do like the air blocks and the air hits, and you can't dodge them unless you play like 6 hours a day to get like just the fine tuning.
Yeah.
Nightmare. Like, I'm kind of done then because we're all good enough. We could practice, but like, I don't want to play that game that much. I like the thought of it, and then it quickly becomes toxic, and I'm done.
Yeah.
To me, games are just meant to be fun. If I'm not having fun, I don't want to be there. Whether it's the game, the online people, or whatever it is, it's like, that's what I want to do with my time. I want to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that dude that was playing zombies with, I think I remember the last words we ever spoke with, like, PJ's in the room, and he just was going off, and we were just like getting quiet, and like, me and PJ probably telepathy thinking the same thing. But then he had this weird moment, and I don't remember anything he really said besides this, and he just got up and left quick. He's like, "Oh no, crap attack." And like, he had to take a dump, and he just shouted, "Oh no, crap attack." What? And I think we logged off, and I never talked to him again. I went and like left the guild and like that on Warcraft. I never played with him again. But I think the last memory I have of this asshole.
Oh no, crap!
Oh
attack.
no, crap attack! I was like, at least it ended on a high ground.
On that.
Yeah.
What's that?
Perfect punctuation to end that relationship.
Yeah, just he'll end on up here because it'll never get better than that.
Yeah. Oh no, indeed. Yeah.
Oh no, crap attack. I still say that sometimes when I get that was like so long ago. Oh,
That's
damn randos. All right, I totally took this in a direction.
yeah. What's your relationship with the Spatial App guys? Or like,
You guys said before.
The Spatial App
Right.
team, they're just trying to build. They have a trade show in the space every Thursday. They're trying to build it up into like a full day event where you can come and go, and there'll always be people here. So they said, "Hey, we've listened to your podcast for a while, and we really like what you do, and would you want to come do it in VR?" And I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah," because audio podcasts are great, but we're doing an audio podcast about VR, and it's like, you know, we don't really have any street cred. We're not like developers or gaming, like anything. So at least us being in VR helps us to maybe be in the scene, because there's a lot of people that come in here, like developers and all kinds of people, and we've had really amazing conversations, not even on the podcast, just in the space. So it really worked out, and it's been a good relationship.
They're great guys.
Kind of starting. Yeah, they're really nice. They help people get funding. They do a lot of great stuff. They're trying to push VR forward in some great ways. So that's how that started. Now I'm slowly starting to try to redesign the booth and area and kind of make something cool, because like we said, like guests bring in assets and stuff, and like with the dinosaur game, I feel so bad. I can't remember the name of it, but we had like life-size dinosaurs in here. It was just amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And it's fun to like be able to play show and tell with guests and stuff, and say, hey, here's my thing, and just seeing it in VR is pretty awesome. Like Dave the Dev from Warchasm, we had one of his, like, you're in these mines, so he's got like this big mine cart, like we had it over life size out there, and he's like, I have never seen my own asset like this, and he was just like blown away. So
yeah,
right.
Eventually, when they get to it, want to be able to like pick stuff up and like look at it. So if you bring in assets, like, you know, if you dropped in like a gun from your game and we'd get like a toy box here, and like you just gave us one of the gun models and just it was in the toy box, and like future guests or whatever, we could, you know, like, dig through that. That would be just a prop box. That'd be so cool. I don't know if we'll get there, but possibly.
Is it on their roadmap? To sort of
interactable.
I know they have this gun, right?
Yep.
Emote.
Yeah.
gun,
So when they first approached us, they're like, "Hey." Wookie and I we're just started like, we want to do this, and this. Like, yeah, we can do all that. We'll work that way. So they have their roadmap, and then they're going to help us do what we want to do. They want to like guests to be able to, or people to be able to come in and actually build their set or booth in the app and stuff.
Yeah.
And like Wookie said, be able to pick things up and move on.
Very ambitious.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. I mean, like I said earlier, I think this is the future. So, everyone wants to build their metaverse, or they're part of the metaverse, whatever the term is going to be. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, like I mean, that's one thing also that we really try to focus on in our game. Like it's not a full physics simulation, but we try to make it feel very physical. Like that your guns can collide with surfaces and they make scratching noises, and
that's cool. I love
your hand
that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes VR fun as well, right? Like where everything is interactive. Like I really want to smack this microphone, like, and have it twirl around or stuff, right?
Nothing would make me happier than be able to pick up this cup of coffee and just throw it in Wookie's face sometimes.
Like a little bit of liquid particle go, and then it's gone. Right? Throw a slice of pizza.
But I mean, I think that's where it's heading,
I love that you put those physics stuff in there, because, you know, we played, I don't know if it was Trickster, one of the earlier dungeon crawling medieval games, but if you can't bang the sword on a shield, it feels weird.
Yeah.
Even if you kind of have to do like this, but if you can't hit it on the side, some of them have it in there, and it's like, that's all. Like, that made it for me. You know, it's like, it's weird how people are.
Yeah.
But like, physics making it feel real. Some games, some people are just like, oh, I want to make that game with this other feature from this other game, and they start it, and they don't have anything good from either games in it. it's like you got to have it be grounded in some form of fashion.
Yeah.
And we were playing like, I'm not the biggest fan of like Minecraft-esque graphics, but I think it's Ancient Dungeon, right? They were just pumping. I tried that, and for some odd reason, it's Minecrafty graphics, looks good, it plays fine, it's good, but like the camera or just the motion, it was like the most dialed in to a game. Maybe it was just the scale of everything around you, but it was just so dialed in, like the movement felt more like I was in that game. Any game I'd played up to that point, like AAA, GTA, whatever, like this thing has something special to it. When people pay attention to that stuff, if you're walking up to a thing like hiding behind some cover in your game and like your gun's bumping on the wall instead of the gun clipping through, and then when you shoot, it doesn't go anywhere, wasting a bullet or something like that. Clipping an object and you're like bouncing off stuff. Yeah. That stuff is grounded. I always bang on shadow or games like that. They don't have a shadow on the ground. Not that I'm making fun of shadows of your game or anybody else's. Really.
Yeah, we don't have any shadows.
And then that's fine. It looks fine without them. But like,
voice, yeah.
Some games you're like, oh, I guess I just put a point up here and everything's got live shadows and it works out. But it's like, well, no, because like when you're standing here and there's no shadow like around you on the ground, you look like you're on another plane of existence.
Yeah.
You can't play it. Like, I have a dynamic light and that's all I need. I'm like, there's a lot more to it than that to do shadows. So you either need to stylize and don't need them, or you need to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Or you need to keep practicing. It's really hard to do that stuff. But when you make everything feel, and I was just saying like shadow thing, because make it feel grounded in the game, it's detail. Like people will pick up on them and not be able to articulate it, and they can't say why they don't feel comfortable. You go into the games where like people put time and effort into those little details, and it takes time and effort, like, smack the microphone, make it spin around, interact. But like just hearing you say like, the guns make scraping noises on the walls, it's visual and audio feedback that you need to exist and control in the game. I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's something that, like we debate a lot internally whether it's horsepower or not. And I'm always pushing for all these little details because I think people may not explicitly call these things out, but they'll feel them. And then on the other way, they'll feel them when they're not there. They won't necessarily know what makes them feel uncomfortable, but something's missing or something's unnatural. And there's all sorts of challenges as well. Like the fact that your weapons collide against things means that our longer weapons are sometimes awkward to carry. So like you're walking through a door and you might knock and your hand is blocked, and like then we have to start making decisions and choices about, okay, when it goes wrong, like how do we fix it in a way that, how do we
in game
first of all not leave it broken, but how do we make it feel okay for the player? And so we like to streamline physics, and there's so much more we can still do. For example, you can't pick up objects properly. You can you can use your hands and like push things and take with your two hands with the friction, lift something, but you can actually, but we want to add like a second level of like, you can pick up lighter objects, and then heavier objects you can't, but like maybe you can get an upgrade chip that could make you super strong. And we want to keep building on all these physics things, and I think it feels fun and nice in VR when it feels physical.
Like that, like if I'm hearing you right, where like you don't really click the grip button and just it's like magneted to your hand, but if you actually like have to put your hands under it and physics lift it up, that's fucking cool. Sorry French, but
it's all good. Yeah, like those barrels or those things, you can like knock them over, roll them down like through that friction of your hand, which at least is better than if you couldn't even do anything with it.
Right, that's really neat.
That would be neat because I don't know what your view on like kind of have a stealth opportunity with enemies in your game. Yeah, if you could sneak up, like grab them, rip their arm off, and beat them with it, like.
Yeah, you can't. Well, you can't currently in the game rip living enemies' arms off. We could in a prototype, which was fun. But stealth is super important for us as well. Like the game detects if you're still in stealth mode or not, if an enemy has noticed you, and you can take them down from behind with like a wrench or their own arms or the butt of your weapon. And stealth is something we want to keep building deeper into the game, like a stealth playstyle, stealth class, rewards, and upgrades that encourage stealth behavior. So that should be a valid playstyle in the game.
Yeah. And not a lot of games, like, you have the stealth detection system, but that's it. Like, how do you use that to your advantage? Can you get a one-hit kill from behind while you're still in stealth mode? A lot of games leave a lot of stuff out. It's like, we have stealth. Well, do you? You have shadows and an eyeball indicator.
Yeah, there's a lot you can add, like accessing certain areas only if you haven't triggered an alarm, or like with going back to the hacking thing, like we had the idea like robots have their own ID. That's how they're getting through doors and all this stuff. And maybe in future updates on level 3 in a restricted room, you could access it if you have a robot's head, or if you've stolen their chip, or a specific robot's chip. You know, you could then impersonate them.
A piece in your arm, like the robot's walking by, and the stealth version of that, and you could push a button, and like as they scan through the door, you record their ID, like people can do with like garage door openers and Gone in 60 Seconds. Then you can get in that door.
Yeah.
But if you're the assault tanky guy, you just go rip their head off, and then you just walk through the door anyway.
Exactly.
2 different ways to do the same thing. I love that stuff.
I don't know if we'll ever pull it off, but I'd like the idea that like you could sneak up, press a button on their back of the head, and a panel opens, and like you could press the reboot button or steal their memory chip. These type of like little interactions would be so much fun.
Because I'm all about those like hack and mini games, like you said, and you're getting into things. It's a shame, like, you know, again, to go back to GTA, they have the same like 4 for everything you do, and it's like, you know, little worm game or whatever's going on, you know, password scrolling. Yeah, and it's like, why don't they have games like that where like once you clamber on some robot's back and he's like, what the hell? And you open the panel and like you like unplug a couple of cables and do some like cross circuit thing and then shut it, and then did it work? It's almost like an alchemy game where you're mixing stuff, like which color wire goes where to do what, and then have a bunch of random effects, and then I would get killed. Like PJ knows, when we play like shooter games, I'm the guy doing something stupid to see if it'll work. I'll die like the whole match, and I'll pull it off once, and then in my mind I won because I hacked that robot. I might have died 50 times along the way, drug the whole team down, and made everybody mad. But now I learned this match isn't just another throwaway match. I know how to get that robot to do it. Nobody would ever care. No. I'm not a streamer because I would be made fun of for being a horrible player.
Wow, I mean, like we wanted like panels on next to the doors that you could like hack open, and then the wires that if you snip the right one, it opens the door. If you snip the wrong one, it triggers an alarm.
Right. Like the Star Trek stuff, they're always pulling panels off and pulling chips and crap out, and it's like I've never seen that in a game. Like, I mean, somebody's already done it. It'd be funny. Just pull a chip out and put it in another slot, and then it blows up. And the next time the door opens, like, well, what was the difference there? I would sit there hacking that same panel, figuring that out until that hunter came and killed me.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Yeah, we want like invisibility chips. We want more stealth stuff around that. Yeah. There's so many ideas to explore.
I love hearing the background where you guys are thinking of all this. Obviously, you can't implement everything all the time, but I love that you're thinking about it, and I love like what you've shared and brought up, because it's just awesome to hear that. Because like Wookie and I, when we're playing a game, we'll sit there and bounce things off and stuff.
In like 2003, I graduated from like a video game animation. I've been playing with a Unity game engine for ages. I'm not really a game developer, but I'll go and like, how does procedural generation work? That's my latest conquest. That was like years ago, but it's like I got it with mountain ranges, and I can control the panel or the planes and create the polygons and get it to work. And it's like, well, I could make a game. I don't know what to do. So I'm like kind of half 1 foot in. Like I can understand what the challenges might be. I don't know how to get it into the render pipeline or something like that. But we sit here and Peach's like, could you do this? What about this? I'm like, you could totally do that. Like,
I mean, anything is possible. I think it's just like the trade-offs you're making, and
hard decisions.
Yeah, I mean, on the quest, you have to make some pretty hard trade-offs.
Yes.
Like even with our art style, like it's there's a limit to how many enemies we can have on screen at a time, or it's unfortunate. Like like one of the you probably experience this, like when you trigger an enemy in a room, like the room doors lock, and that's to avoid like enemies running between rooms, and suddenly you have 15 enemies in one room because it'll just start framing out. But that's something I would love to have, like a fully open level that you can just run back and forth, pull some enemies from one area to another. But at the same time, that restriction, like being forced to have these interesting room to room moments, helped us focus our design as well. Like, to create
creative
interesting rooms.
constraints. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, here's your boundaries. You have to work within them.
Yeah.
Come up with something cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think those constraints are actually important in order to come up with something cool. Like, I'm the type of guy who doesn't throw away ideas. Like, oh, let's do all of them, and it's gonna take 10 years. And it's like, well, no, we have 6 months and this budget. Like, we can do 6 of them. All right, let's.
6 of your 800. Like, oh no, how do I pick?
Yeah. But yeah, like we still have all these ideas written in some massive design Bible, Google Doc that we have laying around, and we still look at it from once in a while. When we're like,
awesome, because like this game, like I thoroughly enjoy it. I love everything about it, and it's sometimes when you get a game like that, like you finish it or you get to the end and you're like 3 months after you haven't played it. You've moved on, and you're like, God, I wish I could go back and play that type of thing. But I'm just saying, like, if I played it like 10 times, it's awesome when a game you really like this one for me, you have more plans and there's possibilities of future things, and like that's really exciting to me. So I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. No, hopefully, like you should be able to play it over and over again, and still, even currently, like experience new things you haven't seen before, and. Like we got an update coming out next week, which we're getting a bunch of bug fixes, a few enhancements and community requests, but also a lot more variations in the early levels, like even more varied, because most players are spending their time in that first district, the mines area, and just in our playthroughs, there's certain rooms that come up more often than others, and certain rooms that don't have enough variations, or you're like, oh, this room again, like, and I wanted that in the ideal world, the player never recognizes a room. Like they're so, even though we have templates, they're so varied that you're unsure what's going to be around the next corner. It feels familiar, but different each time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're focusing a lot on that. Yeah.
My big thing too is like, we'll play old school, like ages ago. Play like what was it? Call of Duty Black Ops 2. I remember that was a famous one because, like, like the Treyarch company that runs that Call of Duty versus the Activision that runs the other one, or whatever was going on. They had different game engines between Black Ops and the regular Modern Warfares or whatever. And my brain couldn't make sense because the way they hit lag. So, like, your character would be here, but the hitbox is like over here, and I was like having a hard time. I think that was Black Ops 1. So, I was like, I rented the second one or something. Like, I did really good that opening night. Wasted everybody. I'm like, okay, this one works. A bunch of people playing it. I'm going to buy it. As soon as I bought it, the whole perspective changed. And it's like everybody's running again. They all know the maps. I'm like, this would be so much easier if people weren't running so fast. Like, how come, it's all about memorizing the map. So what about, like, taking it slow, breaching and clearing? Like, going through a door and not knowing exactly where every pixel hole that somebody's going to look out from. Yeah. Counter-Strike pro gamers do. And, like, taking it slowly and seriously, like a Ghost Recon, slower, or Rainbow Six, and not having the maps memorized. Love that stuff. To the point where, like, it's always, if you're an agent breaking in, or, you're going through a new floor and you've never been there, and like, if the assets look the same, that, oh, I came up to a T-junction, I know what a T-junction looks like, and this room's going to be exactly like this. If you don't know any of that, you're, hiding in the corners a little more often and taking it seriously. And
you got to explore each time and take a risk each time. I'm all for that. And one of the ideas that we're toying with on paper is like so we have this cool engine now and this procedural stuff, and I think like we want to take it and build other ideas from it. And like a 2v2 type game, like in a
Mhm.
small building where it's laid out differently each time. Like there's familiar things, but you're not sure.
Yeah.
And one group has to infiltrate, the other one has to defend, and like that would be interesting, you know? And you're not sure
Yeah.
where the control room is, and you're not sure if there's a turret at the end of this hallway or not. And
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, like a
maybe
turret
some
or something, like, you know, you got a camera, like
a camera, yeah.
alert like that. So
Yeah.
Splinter Cell game in one of the old Splinter Cell games we played on like the original Xbox.
Yeah,
One
exactly.
where
Yeah.
the guy that's climbing around in third person with a little bit better view and had a little bit tools, but yeah, you never, if you never knew it was around the corner and you had to, like, you know, treat each room like, that would be like, the replayability would be infinite in that point. Like, you'd always have that, like, the what's the word, like, you know, the surprise, the suspense and all that stuff. It wouldn't go
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think I saw this concept, at least a 2v2 cat and mouse type thing, like in an old Splinter Cell game, like an Xbox
Yeah.
5, spy versus security.
First person
or
shooter
something like that.
guard. Yeah, we played
Yeah.
the crap out of that one because first person shooter guard could throw like a trip mine or, like, you know,
Mhm.
like tase the other guy if he got too close and started to figure out where he was, and the other guy's looking for him. It was hilarious. Like,
Yeah. And I think that
Ugh.
in VR would be amazing, right? Like,
yeah,
so that's one I'd like to do. Just don't know yet how that project is gonna get off the ground. Whether like that, you know, that type of multiplayer game, like do you put it behind a $20 price point and then you're much more limited in your audience side, or do you make it free and try to attract a big community and then find other ways to monetize it?
that's the whole problem I have. Like you said, you know, I tinker with ideas and I can make stuff happen. It's like the whole business side of it. It's sort of like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would make a game and play it by myself forever. So I
Yeah.
should probably try to make money off that at some point if you do make a game. And it's like, I don't know how to do that yet. But like, those are all free to play with microtransactions for cosmetics or what?
Probably. I mean, Population 1 is not free to play. They seem to be doing all right, which is interesting data point. Like, I'm curious. I'm not sure how many players they have, but they have enough to get a game going pretty quickly. So,
They go free to play because it wasn't always free to play.
no, they're not free to play, right?
Oh, okay, I misheard you.
But I think it's $20 or $30.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
20.
yeah.
Last I checked, anyway.
And I find that surprising. That I mean, it's I think they had a pretty decent budget. They're owned by Facebook now, right?
Yeah.
I believe. But
Well-
still, you need to sell enough copies to get enough people in there to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know. So it's interesting. Yeah.
I was gonna go on a Beat Saber rant, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, why not?
Well, it's just so I was in early access in Beat Saber, and I paid for whatever the price was. I think it was 15. And then then they fully release, and then it's on Steam and Oculus, and then Oculus slash Facebook slash Meta buys them. And that game, and I know it's popular, and I know everyone loves it, but I still don't own it on the Quest or Oculus. I'm not going to buy it again.
Mm-hmm.
And from my viewpoint, like, okay, that's been like the main game. Some would say that should just come with a headset at this point, or it's also only ever been on sale one time, maybe if that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not paying another $30 when I was one of the original people backing it, and like, I feel like
Yeah.
I'm getting punished. So I'm not gonna buy it again. I should have it. It's owned by Facebook. They don't need the money. Like, it's just one of those things as a gamer that bothers me. It's
Yeah,
just
you
like
feel like you helped it
fucking-
get off the ground, right? Like with your early
Mhm.
support. Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's also like shit. What's the game we just talked about? Blade and Sorcery just came out on Quest.
Yeah.
I've had that game since early access. Blah blah blah. Like, in my mind, that should be a cross-buy game where if I have it here, I should own it here. And I know it's different, a different build, and I'm not trying to take away from devs and stuff because I have
Sure.
a lot of friends that are devs. But if I talk to a lot of single person team devs that their game is cross-buy on everything. So there's no reason you can't tell me that that shouldn't be the same thing for all games like that. I mean, that just kind of makes me mad
Yeah.
as a gamer.
It's easy to make a cross-buy across the Rift or the Oculus Store on PC and then on Quest. But making a cross-buy across Steam and all that is like a billing. I mean, like, I get it, but for every like ethical person who would approach them and say, hey, you know, I own a copy on Steam, like there'd be like 10,000 requests for free keys on.
Yep.
So I don't know how you handle that historically, but like the particular one about Beat Saber and the fact that Facebook owns it and all this stuff, like, yeah.
You'd have to set up, you know, like the account sharing, like this account, you'd have to allow access to your Steam account. And if you legitimately owned it, then it would just unlock it. But that's a lot of extra work to lose money to
mainly
game
like
player.
The Beat Saber thing is a little different, but with Blade and Sorcery, like I own it on the Oculus platform. I shouldn't have to pay another 20 some or 30, whatever. I think it's 20 for the same game I already own on their platform. Like it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how they're approaching it.
I have watched devs, again, small team devs, like, oh, hey, we did this, and you guys have this, like, even if it's like itch.io, like, you have this. Here's keys for everything else that we have. Like, so you can't tell me that you can't do it.
World War I Warplanes or whatever that game is, we love it. I think I bought it on itch.io, and then they were just like, boom, here's we're launching on other platforms, pick one. And you get a key.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Bottom line, I want developers to get paid because I don't think some of them don't make enough, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like with the bigger companies, especially like Facebook, it's like, come on.
The ones I would buy the game 2 or 3 times from, like the indies, like making it really hard. The small teams, like 6 people.
Yeah,
I'll buy that twice. But then it's almost like paying masters, like the Mass Effect remaster. I did pay for that because I want to experience it again, but they introduced so many freaking bugs. I stopped playing them.
Well, it's like Warcraft 3 about that remaster and freaking metaphorically threw it out the window. It was so broken.
I have a story about that, but I want to say one thing before I say it. Like when we have guests like devs on, and if they say, "Hey, here's a couple keys you guys can try," I'm like, "Oh, I've already bought it, so I'm just going to give it away." Like if I really love a game, like I will buy extra keys and just give them out. Like even though you can kind of ask for them and whatnot.
First try, and we'll just go buy it and then give those keys to listeners.
Yeah. Wow, okay, that's really
cool.
When
when you say metaphorically throw it out the window, I have to say this because it makes me laugh. So with Black Ops 2. Wookie played the demo. He bought it. He knows what's coming. We were playing one night, and all I hear is a lot of swear words, and then I hear a "ch." I'm like, what was that? He's like, I snapped the disc. I'm like, what? And then the same fucking day, I'm like, hey, we're playing tonight. Oh yeah, you can't play. He goes out and buys it again.
Oh no.
And we had fun. That's fucking hilarious. But nowadays, with most things digital, all he can do is delete it. He's like, I'm fucking deleting this game.
Yeah.
It'll happen because, like, my thing is, like, if I can't do something, like, like, again, with that hitbox moving around, it's different. Like, I have to laser in. When I said the thing about we're playing, like, GoldenEye and I'd throw up, that wasn't a joke because when GoldenEye came out, like, my left eye, I don't know if it, like, zeroes into pixels. It gets bloodshot when like new games come out, especially old flat games when frame rates were different and all that stuff. So we'd play GoldenEye and we were like blown away, and then I'd get up, go barf in the toilet, brush my teeth, sit back down, have a killer headache, and just keep playing because I didn't know it was good for me.
Right? Yeah.
Like I have to like get in there and figure it out because like Titanfall 1, there's this big sniper rifle called the Kraber, and it had bullet drop, and it was heavy bullets, so you had to lead people and figure that all out. And I'll just watch people doing the zipline thing, and I'll just right off the zip line because I'm sitting there like immersed in it and figuring it out. But if the game engine sucks so bad or something like that, and I can't make it happen, like I know I can do it because I've done it once, but there's some invisible component in there, lag fixing or whatever,
Yeah.
and I can't do it. I turn into like the worst player. I have to mute myself because I'm sitting there like going, what the, and I'm just trying, my brain is like trying to logic out the problem.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
brain-
You're trying to find that pattern and it's
And
not
adjust for
consistent.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And it will, it's because Black Ops 2, like kind of like Rainbow Six, one of those games was like, if you hold down the trigger, your accuracy pattern goes through the roof. You could be right next to someone behind them, unload on them the whole clip, and they'll turn around and kill you
Mm-hmm.
out the window.
The funny part about all that is it took me a long time to figure out what was going on because I'm like, why are you always mad? Because we would, like, when he'd get mad at something like that, like, we would always be the top team dominating, like, whatever game we're playing. I'm like, we're fucking kicking their ass. Like, what's up? And he's just, like, trying to figure shit out. And I'm like, oh.
It's that stupid, like, my brain has to figure it out because, like,
Yeah.
when I first started playing with Unity, some spaceship game came out, and I was like, I was just playing the demo, and I loved, like, the control and the feel. Went into Unity, didn't know JavaScript at the time. This is a decade or more ago. And over a week after work, I was figuring out JavaScript. On that weekend, I ripped off that, like, I just figured out how to make a game, how to make a little spaceship 3D model I downloaded and put a skybox around, and figured out how to make a control. My brain is sitting there trying to figure out the patterns to suss it out and, like, figure it out. So when I can't do stuff, and then when I broke that disc was because I couldn't kill people with the guns, right? Like they're running around, I could murder you, like the lag thing would happen. Like PJ said, we would be like 30-3. Like, that would be the end scores, like whatever it is. Like I felt bad. It's no comparison. We were just dominating. And I still like, what the hell? Because I should have had like, we played one match at GoldenEye. PJ had two friends over. And one of the friends was
sorry,
bad.
just 1 second. Like somebody's ringing my door again. Can you give me 30 seconds? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
We're going down rabbit holes of Wookiee's bad psyche here, but and that's you're right. That's when you're trying to figure out what's wrong. That's the whole thing the whole time. It's like this logic problem. And that, it's just
Sorry. I'm back.
no problem. Another package? Anything fun?
No, I got a guest who arrived 15 minutes early.
Oh,
should we wrap up?
Man, yeah.
We can wrap up like the next 5-10 minutes or so.
I'll finish what I was talking about.
Yeah.
This is where the VR thing comes in handy, where it's like,
you're DMing, trying to type, but when I broke the disc was like I couldn't kill people with these guns, right? There's people running around, and I'm already like curb stomping these poor people into oblivion, and sometimes I'm not, and it's like that didn't bother me when I get shot again. I'm the guy that'll die every single way in the match, but like PJ had some friends over playing GoldenEye. One of them was horrible and kept killing me. But we had like negative 15 points, and I still won the game by like 40 points or something. Like I killed everybody while getting killed by my teammate who I didn't kill and the other two people. Like, just all this stuff going on, and I can't kill these people, and sometimes I can't. And it was driving me nuts, and then I switched to the crossbow.
Yeah.
And then whatever happened, like there's boarded up windows on a second floor building, and I was hitting people between the boards and the windows with a crossbow and one-shotting them. And it was like logic explosion. Like none of that. How does that even make sense now? When we played Gears of War, I stopped playing that game because I hit a high note because I hit someone with a torque bow between the train cars as the train was going by.
Oh, wow.
One shot, boom, they blew up, and I was like, I'll never.
I'm retired. Yeah.
Wish I was recording that at the time.
Yeah.
Like that's what happens to me. So like I broke that disc, and I was like, what is wrong with me? Like they're all having fun. Why can't I be normal and having fun?
And then I feel bad because I was like, what's wrong with your brother? I'm like, he's just dealing with shit.
So, yeah, and it gets to the point where, like, when we play with those people, when we were playing regularly with our group of friends, PJ and I couldn't even be on the same team.
Yeah.
We're dominating, and yet still my brain is like, I don't care about that. It's not that that's not good enough. I need to be better. My brain's like, this should be working,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I that's very frustrating when it's not, right?
And it's all internal, and I just have to meet myself and try not to bark at people playing and trying to have fun. It's not me being, like the the jackass with the I'm a Nazi when it comes to the zombies because he's yelling at you because you're not playing right. It's like other people aren't in the. This is all me.
Yeah. I get you.
Well, real quick before we wrap, is there anything we didn't get to that you wanted to talk about? Whether VR or your games or...
No, I mean we covered a lot. I guess if anybody's playing our game, anybody who's watching this or listening to this or playing our game, please leave us a review. This already always means a lot. And I'm just very honored to be invited on your podcast. I really appreciate it. Love what you guys do.
I have Gorilla and Late for Work. I haven't got to play Late for Work because I've been waiting for people to play it with, but those are fun. Those are great games, but like Sweet Surrender is just honestly like it's one of those games I get mad where I don't have enough time to play as much as I want type of thing.
So thank you.
I love the game as is, but I love hearing that you got plans and other things coming, so it just makes me more excited, and hopefully I'll be able to cut out more time because I always have I try to play, if we have a guest, I play their game and all, I help beta test things and stuff, but yeah. I'm happy to hear that update's coming in December because I'll have a nice 2-week window where I can spend some quality time in there.
Excellent. That's great.
A lot of pressure, but if delayed now. He's going to sit over there and be like, no, PJ's going to...
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll come into factor.
No, but game looked fantastic. I definitely, I don't have as much time off in December, but I need to try this game and leave a review.
That's very kind of you.
Leave the review. Yeah, when the update launches, if you want to come back anytime, talk about it. We hopefully won't take up 2 hours of your time.
I'd love to do this again. This was really fun.
Yeah, anytime.
We're going to be updating often, so anytime you guys have a slot or let me know. This was really cool. Love to just hang out and chat about VR.
Yeah.
Or the before show, talking about Germany, we love hearing we had me and my names here. We're talking to the gentleman from District M. And he's from India, and we're getting into how culture affects game making and the actual games, and how they have to kind of westernize it to make it to sell. That stuff is just always interesting to me. So we get off on weird tangents a lot.
The layers you don't get. I just want to make a fun game. I had this idea to make it, and it's fun, but it's not going to appeal to anybody because some weird invisible rule we didn't know about.
Yeah. The cultural differences across our planet have a huge impact on what we create. Yeah.
Right, and anybody who's grown up in the States or anything like that, America is usually like the media powerhouse, and you have to cater to us stupid Americans, which we don't get the opportunity to learn other languages or about other cultures because they just don't put it here, and it's got to go across the ocean to see it. I just love hearing about that stuff. Big, Anglophile. I love everything about Europe and all the differences, the public transport and it's cool and the better looking. We just love to hear that because it's inspirational. It's not exactly like us. Everything is catered to be, and it's I hate that. I want new things.
I love to chat about these things as well. I think about these things a lot. I don't have necessarily an avenue to air them, but I compare my life in Germany with my life in the U.S. As it used to be quite a bit, and the pros and cons. And
that's bring back the trade show here in the Spatial App. There's a lot of people from a lot of cultures, and those are actually the conversations you hear. That's why it's so interesting to get in here and listen, because you don't always have avenues to talk about those things that when you want to talk about.
Yeah, you can connect from anywhere into this app or into these spaces.
To go back, to the culture thing, in 2009 or was it? I went to England for a week for work. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have gone. And I stayed in an inn that was 800 years old, and there's a 900-year-old church down the street, and just the weird magnitude that sinks into the back of your head when you're around that stuff. And you go and see people that carve their names into the wood of this church 400 years ago. 500 years after it was created, and it's just over here, that's such a strange concept. You know it exists, but until you like put your hands in that on that
Yeah.
thing, it's like other cultures are so cool. We just don't get any of it over here. It's all too new or something. So
Yeah, but that's just the history of the U.S. I mean, there were cultures in the U.S. before pilgrims and all that, but it's just sort of different style. Like,
right,
it's sadly the Indian or the Native American culture is not.
dominant.
It's not nomadic, but it's less. They built less
Prevalent.
permanent structures, and also
Yeah.
everything that happened afterwards also had an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gee, I'd love to chat more about all that stuff. Don't want to keep you from your guest, Brendan.
Sure, man. Let's talk on Twitter. I'm happy to come back again. This was really cool. So,
Anytime.
thanks again for having me and for talking about our game. It's really cool.
And
really
VR
appreciate
high
the support.
five.
Oh yeah,
Because we could do it in VR.
yeah. Bam.
Someday
Bam,
it'll
bam. Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks, man. It was really great talking with you.
Yeah.
And can't wait to see updates, play the game more, all that.
And if you make
I'd be
merch
back.
with that screenshot I'm obsessed with or whatever, I will buy it.
I'm taking those two ideas back to the team. That one and the one about like getting different types of bonuses based on what you turn off and on in the game.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
assists bonus, yeah.
Yeah. We need some team merch at least, and so
Yeah.
if we make some more.
To that point, I saw some weird, I don't really buy shirts with like human skulls on it. I mean, it's as cool as they are, but you see them everywhere. I saw this one weird purpley glitchy looking one. And like
Yeah.
I had to buy it because it was cool. I don't even know what it is, but like have to buy merch.
Awesome.
We'll buy that. So. Sorry.
All right,
Cool.
man. Cool.
All right, yeah. I gotta log off, guys. Thanks a lot.
Man.
See
Talk
ya.
to you soon.
Yeah.
Take it easy. All right. See you guys.